Okay, we are jumping right into something completely wild today. Seriously, get comfortable because today we're settling in for a really comprehensive explainer of a story that's going to demand absolutely every ounce of your attention. We're diving deep into the source text for Dreamweaver Book 4, Chaos, written by Edwin Mintome Bozy. And let me tell you right off the bat, this narrative swings so wildly and with such utter confidence between world-ending epic high fantasy and laugh-out-loud, incredibly specific video game otaku culture. It is literally a genre-bending roller coaster. One minute we're dealing with ancient prophecies and cosmic entities of pure evil, and the next, our main characters are trading vicious, nerdy insults about PlayStation 4 exclusive games. I know, it sounds bizarre, but it is absolutely brilliant. So today, we're going to embark on this shared journey to break down exactly how this text uses absolute absurdity to deliver some genuinely profound, real-world philosophical truths about time and love.
So, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1. The Ancient Dreamweaver Prophecy. Number 2. Chaos, the Soul of Time. Number 3. Love Against the Clock. Number 4. An Unlikely Otaku Showdown. And finally, number 5. The Philosophy of Time. Just mentally prepare yourselves for those deliberate swings between epic fantasy and gamer humor, because it really is the defining feature of this entire universe.
All right, Section 1, The Ancient Dreamweaver Prophecy, a history of light and darkness. We're going to breeze right through this, but to truly appreciate the sheer weirdness of what happens later on, we first have to ground ourselves in the grand, high fantasy stakes of this story.
We're talking about the delicate balance of the universe itself here. You've got the realm of dreams, you've got the realm of nightmares, and then there's the human world just caught right smack in the middle of it all. And all of that massive, abstract, cosmic lore, it is anchored directly to our two main protagonists. We have Zanfar, who is the Dreamweaver, and his origin is fascinating because he's born from the union between the Nightmare King and the Princess of Dreams. So he's literally a being of dual nature. He's carrying the massive weight of two completely opposing realms on his shoulders. And alongside him is Ayumi Kurosawa. She's a human, but she is deeply tied to Zanfar's fate. Her own personal feelings, her experiences, her memories, they actually become the ultimate battleground for the survival of the entire universe. It's a lot of pressure for one human, right?
Now, the source text actually builds this massive chronology to give immense weight to Zanfar and Ayumi's struggle. It goes way back. 2,000 years ago, the prophecy of dreams was spoken, and it warned of an incarnation of disaster. Then, 1,000 revolutions ago, Zanfar was sealed away. And that brings us to the present day, where the union of light and darkness is actively testing the Dreamweaver. Now, the prophecy is really explicit here. It states that the tears of true love shed by the Princess of Dreams will force a massive choice, either bend to the path of light and love, or fall entirely into endless darkness and hate. So the fate of absolutely everything, literally existence itself, hinges completely on their emotional connection. No pressure.
But of course, as with any good story, things went terribly wrong. When Xantha was cast into the human world as a child, that event shattered something called the Eternal Mirror Gate. You can think of this gate as the crucial dimensional barrier that keeps the human and dream worlds from just violently colliding into each other. Well, when it broke, the 7 souls of evil were completely unleashed into the world. We are talking about primordial, fundamental evils, things like cowardice, enslavement, and despair. But for our explainer today, we are zeroing in on the absolute most dangerous one of them all, the evil soul of time.
Which brings us right to Section 2, Chaos, the Soul of Time, a villain with a major point to prove. This is where we transition into the really character-driven anchor of our explainer. Let me introduce you to the primary antagonist who decides to put this ancient prophecy of love to the ultimate, cruelest test imaginable. This is Chaos. And what's interesting is he has a rather deceptive appearance. He manifests as a highly attractive, silver-haired man. The source material actually gets a little cheeky here, noting that he is someone who could never, ever be referred to as evil in the dictionary of the classification of people by girls. He's that good-looking. But do not let that fool you. Beneath this remarkably handsome exterior is an incredibly cynical, deeply warped entity whose true nature is tied directly to manipulating the very fabric of time itself.
You really have to listen to this quote from Chaos, because it drives his entire motivation throughout the story. He confronts Ayumi and just screams at her. Humans say love is timeless, but I don't believe you. Humans only love when it benefits them. They are quick in abandoning their feelings in times of tribulation. And you know, Chaos isn't just evil for the sake of being a bad guy. He is a profound cynic. Think about it from his perspective. Because he is the literal soul of time, he has watched thousands upon thousands of years of human history just unfold in front of him. He has seen humans break their promises of eternal love over and over and over again.
He fundamentally believes love is just a self-serving lie, and he fully intends to break Xanfer and Ayumi just to prove his dark point to the universe.
And that brings us to Section 3, Love Against the Clock, the Ultimate Test. This is the central conflict of the narrative.
This is the moment where the abstract, high fantasy lore becomes deeply, terrifyingly personal for our heroes. And I want you to really think about this question as we look at Ayumi's trial. Can love truly survive the literal erasure of time? We always say things like, "I will love you forever," right? It's a common phrase. But what actually happens when the experiences, the struggles, and the shared histories that built that love in the first place are meticulously, permanently deleted from existence?
Well, Chaos decides to test this theory by dragging Ayumi into his own pocket universe. It's this surreal giant clock dimension. Imagine this, a vast, endless space filled with millions of small clocks, all surrounding one massive central timepiece. The clocks moving clockwise, those represent days of peace. But the ones moving counterclockwise represent days of human harm. Now Chaos forces Ayumi to look at one specific fiery clock. This clock represents her own past, specifically the day she perfected her flame powers. During the historic Battle of Blackwater Bridge, she fought for 3 agonizing days without a drop of food or water just to protect the dreams of mankind. And Chaos? He threatens to simply delete that day. He wants to erase her hard-earned strength and all those countless saved dreams, just to see if Zanfar's love for her can withstand an entirely altered, fundamentally weaker timeline. It's a terrifying psychological test.
And Chaos actually takes the time to break down the mechanics of his time manipulation for us. And he uses, of all things, video game logic to do it. He explains that human lives are basically like keys that unlock events. He explicitly calls it an RPG, a role-playing game. It's like step 1, you remove one small thread of time, just one single action or inaction. Step 2, an entire timeline is adversely affected by that one missing piece. And step 3, it creates a massive snowball effect. He compares it to telling a single lie, which then requires you to tell a mountain of lies just to cover up the first one. He is absolutely gleeful about rewriting reality just to watch the devastating consequences unfold for Ayumi and Xanfar.
All right, on to Section 4, an unlikely otaku showdown, when fantasy meets gaming. Now prepare yourselves.
Just as the story reaches this absolute peak of existential dread, the author pulls off a sudden, brilliantly comedic tonal shift. Honestly, this whiplash is what makes the source material so uniquely entertaining. We're suddenly faced with an utterly absurd contrast. On one hand, we have these massive high fantasy stakes, saving the human and dream worlds from literal eternal darkness. On the other hand, we have our otaku reality, an intense, heated argument over a rewritten version of the video game Kingdom Hearts on a PlayStation 4. I am completely serious. Right in the middle of an epic clash of titans determining the fate of reality, the narrative suddenly pivots to hardcore gamer culture.
So here's what happens. Chaos, who remember is an ancient, primordial, evil soul of time, literally tells Xanfar that he found the game Kingdom Hearts too childish. So, what did he do? He rewrote the entire game in his own image, making himself the animator, the story designer, and proudly putting Xemnas as the main character. He literally calls it Kingdom Heartless. And Xanfar, despite being on a critical mission to save the universe, is a massive geek. His otaku switch just immediately flips. He stops this dramatic, world-ending confrontation dead in its tracks because he simply has to play this rare, Platinum Limited Edition PS4 game. Meanwhile, Ayumi is trapped in a time dimension watching an absolute horror as her legendary savior gets totally distracted by a gaming console dreamed up by the villain.
And it gets better. When Xanfar realizes that Chaos essentially just stole the game and changed the credits to boost his own ego, he doesn't hit him with some ancient magical incantation. No. He hits him with this incredible outburst. He yells, "Shut up, you dim-witted pirate of a programmer, story stealer, credit thief, cheat, over 9,000 otaku troll plus, you're a frickin' cosplayer." The epic battle to save the dream world literally devolves into trading nerdy internet insults. It is such an absurd, wonderful way to show that Xanfar's human upbringing and his weird, nerdy quirks are just as much a part of him as his demonic Dreamweaver powers.
Okay. Let's reel it back in with Section 5, The Philosophy of Time, Lesson Number 4.
Because underneath all the video game jokes and the high-speed anime fights, there is a very grounded, deeply serious message here. Xanfar delivers what the text heavily emphasizes as Lesson Number 4, the finiteness of time.
He notes that time is actually humanity's worst enemy, because our time is strictly limited and we can never tell exactly how much we have left. And it's this constant anxiety that makes humans weak to the soul of chaos. But Zanfar's philosophical takeaway is actually really digestible for us. He says to live your life day by day, like a bird that naturally knows how to govern its desires. Let go of the past because, well, you absolutely cannot change it. Do not worry about the future. Focus entirely on what you can do right now. It's this striking moment of Stoic philosophy dropped right in the middle of a chaotic fantasy story, and it really demands that we slow down and appreciate the present moment.
But of course, philosophy alone isn't going to stop the bad guy. The Silver Dream dimension totally shatters as Zanfar and Chaos resort to a brutal, high-speed, physics-breaking fistfight. The text specifically makes a point to highlight Zanfar's unbelievable stamina here. It notes that he fights with the combined endurance of, quote, 2 Ayumis, meaning he is capable of fighting for 6 straight days without any food or water. He just bombards the soul of time with a relentless barrage of attacks that are so fast the human eye cannot even follow them. And even in victory, Zanfar perfectly weaves his otaku gamer nature into an epic, intimidating threat. When Chaos asks what happens if he chooses to destroy humanity anyway, Zanfar doesn't just threaten him with death, he threatens him with a gamer's ultimate punishment. He says, "Then I will utterly obliterate you, drag your soul from the netherworld, and make you play Devils May Die 5 and Breath of Dragon 6 for 6 years." It is a threat so strangely specific and ridiculous that even Chaos has to laugh at it, acknowledging that it is a very Zanfar thing to say.
But the real victory here isn't the physical beatdown. It is the ideological one. Zanfar wraps up his character arc with this final, sincerely warm message to a being made of pure chaos. He tells him, just choose a path you believe in so that at the end of your life you can go with a smile. Zanfar doesn't demand that Chaos suddenly become a saint. He just asks this primordial entity to find a path of authenticity. He shows a profound level of empathy that absolutely proves the enduring, timeless power of love and understanding, the exact thing that Chaos doubted from the very beginning. Which leaves us with this final thought to take away from the world of the Dreamweaver. Zanfar and Ayumi proved that love can endure the manipulations of time and that we must fiercely focus on the present. So I ask you, if our time is truly finite and we really cannot change the past, are you choosing a path right now that will let you leave with a smile? Think about that today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.